Hello, this is Elizabeth Clare and Ailton Brewington. We
Hello,
are
Liz.
with Brightside Global Trade TV, and I want to warmly welcome. We're having an amazing day with a lot of speakers, and we'll make sure you have this available on demand on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're watching online, and on all our channels as well. So if you're watching this video, we'd like you to write us a comment or share this video. And it's an important message. We are celebrating Women History Month. This is our third Women Business Empowerment. I'd like to introduce my next speaker, and this is Lisa Baker. She's the founder of Ascentim, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us about what she does, and she has an amazing presentation, so stay tuned.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Again, I am just honored to be here and to be part of the discussion today. We're going to, in just a moment, talk about connections, but I have to tell you that I already feel so connected to many of the speakers that I've heard here today. It's a tough act to follow Reginald. What a great presentation he just delivered, but I can connect with him on helping people to better their finances. That's something that's important to me, and that's a pillar of Ascentim. And Reginald, I'll be reaching out to you because I just so happen to have a client that I'm working with who is looking for funding for their business right now. So what a timely presentation. Miss Tisha talked earlier about respect and empowerment, and I am all for that. So of course I identify with her. And one of the authors on earlier talked about her faith. And I am a woman of faith. And so I just feel like I'm at home. And so thank you for welcoming me. And without further ado, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to ask that you will confirm for me once it's up that technology is working the way I expect it to, and that you see a slide that says Ascentim and the Women's Business Empowerment Virtual Forum. All right. So here we go. We talk about empowerment, and there's a proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. It's an African proverb. And so what we're going to be talking about today is how you can actually do both. You can go far and also do that more quickly. And that is really through connections. Your connections to people is what gives you the power to influence. And so we're going to dive into that. But before we do, I'm going to play a video that tells you a little bit about my coaching practice, Ascentim, and then I'll come back and give you an introduction to me, and we'll get right into the topic. And before we do all of that, I want to make sure that we're all in the right place. So are you in the right place? The answer to that is yes. If you want to be more influential, you're in the right place. If you want to have the right connections, you're in the right place. If you have thought about how can you build meaningful relationships, you're absolutely in the right place. And if you want to give yourself an edge over the competition, you join the right session, and you are in fact in the right place. Now, if none of these resonate with you, then you might not be in the right place, but I'm going to invite you to stay anyway, because you might hear something that'll help someone else who aspires to these things.
Welcome to a new kind of coaching, a place where high achievers and big dreamers can finally get the guidance they need to level up and go farther than they ever thought possible. Ascentim exists for those who are ready to live their best life, for those who dare to dream their biggest dreams. We believe in progress, not perfection. We believe in moving forward, and our trajectory is always upward. Ascend with Ascentim.
So I am Lisa Baker, as Elizabeth said, and I am the founder of Ascentim. I started my coaching practice a little bit over a year ago after having spent 30 years in corporate America. And I rose up through the ranks all the way up to the level of senior vice president and general manager at Synchrony, where I was responsible for a $2.5 billion book of business and growing that portfolio. But I left my big cushy corporate job because my passion was really elsewhere, and I really felt the Lord calling me to something else. So in the middle of a global pandemic, I took a big, bold move and left that job and started Ascentim. And now what I do is I show high performers, especially people of color and women, how to level up so that they get connected, get promoted, and get wealth and live the life of their dreams. And I do that through individual and group coaching, as well as speaking around Ascentim's 3 pillars. And they are connections, which we'll be talking about today, careers, and finances. So I want to take you on a journey with me and tell you about a little story. So imagine it is 2009, and I'm working at Microsoft. And I was doing great. I had gotten promoted, was doing really well. And then in 2010, a new executive vice president came into play. And he wrecked my world and my view of my career at the time, because in my very first meeting with him, he said this. Now, Lisa, I didn't ask, but I'm sure if I had asked the team, who's the person that provided the least value, they would have said you. Can you imagine? I was crushed. I have never been a low performer, an underachiever, the bottom of anything. I was coming off the high of my promotion and doing well, loving my job. And this person came in, and on the very first meeting with him, this is what he said to me. Now, all I could do was try to hold back the tears, y'all. But I said, you know what? I'm determined. Now, if nothing else, I'm from Missouri. That's where I was born. You know what that's called? That's the show me state. And I was like, I'm going to show him. I'm going to turn this thing around. So I set out trying to improve the situation, but let me tell you, it did not get better. My second meeting with him was even worse than the first. Worse for me because I was bawling uncontrollably. And I was so angry with myself for getting so emotional and crying in front of this person who obviously did not care about me. I tried calling the people that I knew at Microsoft. I had been there at this point almost 7 years. And so I had met a lot of people, networked with folks. And I thought, you know what? No problem. I'll reach out to these people and somebody will help me to navigate my way to another role. Networking is all about knowing more people. And I thought, because I knew so many people within Microsoft, that it would be easy for me to move to another role. But I'll tell you what, it didn't happen the way I expected. And that's when I learned that networking, in fact, does not work. It doesn't work if you are looking to have someone use their power and their influence on your behalf. I learned that because not a single person of all the people that I knew at Microsoft, and I had worked with many of these people for 7 years and thought I had good relationships with them, not a single one of them said, hey, why don't you come and work on my team? Not a single one said, hey, let me connect you with my friend so-and-so. He or she can help you to move to your next role. It didn't work. No problem. Again, I am not one to be deterred. So I started looking on the internet for a job, and thankfully, because God is so gracious to me, I moved on to my next stop. I decided to take my power and my skills and go elsewhere. And I got a job at what was then GE Capital and is now known as Synchrony. Synchrony, I had a completely different experience. The boss who hired me into Synchrony had a different comment, whereas the previous person, Todd, said to me that I was the biggest loser on his team, in effect. What Jeff, my new boss, said is that I was the best hiring decision that he had ever made. Now, had I changed? No, I was the same person with the same skills that I had had before. The difference was being in a new environment. When you're in an environment that doesn't celebrate you, you don't have to stay where you're just tolerated. Move to where you're celebrated, where people respect and value you. But I learned a very valuable lesson about the power of connection through these experiences. So what happened is, now you fast forward, it is 2014. I'm working at Synchrony. I've been there for 3 years, and I go to a diversity symposium. On the first day of that symposium, at the end of the day, standing around talking to a group of ladies, and a woman that I did not recognize and didn't know walked up to the group. And she didn't know me, so she looked at my name tag and she said, "Oh, Lisa, I do know you." And she said, "I'm Katrina. I work in HR." And I said, "Oh my God, if somebody in HR knows your name, that's either really bad or really good, but there's no in between." And she said, "Lisa, it's a good thing." The group of us that were just meandering around actually went to dinner together that evening, and Katrina was amongst them. And so we just talked and started getting to know each other. Over the course of the next 2 or 3 days of the symposium, I would run into Katrina a couple more times. And to my surprise, 2 weeks after the symposium, I received a phone call from Katrina. And what she said is, "Hey, there's an opportunity that I want to talk to you about." And this is when I discovered a secret that I want to share with you today. The secret is really about how to quickly propel your career, or your life for that matter, forward and create an unfair advantage no matter where you're starting from right now. Because when Katrina called me, she said, "I know a general manager who's in an interview process right now, and it's likely that she's going to get the job. If she does, I want to know if you'd be interested in backfilling her role. And let me tell you a little bit more about the role." Of course, I said, yes, I was interested. And about a week or so later, she called me back and said that the woman she had mentioned had in fact gotten the new job and was promoted and moved on, and they wanted to talk to me about her old role. She scheduled an interview for me, or a conversation with the hiring manager. And I have to tell you that before the job was ever even posted, I had already gotten an offer for the role. And that's when I really discovered what the secret is to connect. You see, I had known a lot of people or met a lot of folks at Microsoft, but I was working remotely. And so while we had many phone conversations, we had been in many meetings, I didn't truly know them, and they didn't really know me. You see, connecting is very different from networking. While the goal of networking is just to know more people, the goal of connecting is to know people more. And so if you're like me, you probably already have a network of personal and professional acquaintances, a broad group of people. Just look at your Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram connections. It's probably hundreds, if not thousands of people. But the reality is you cannot know or connect with all of them, only a small subset. The thing about connections is that it requires you to go deeper and invest time to really get to know people. And that's what happened with Katrina. She knew me, or at least thought she did, before we actually met, because as a part of her role in HR, she had heard about me, the good work that I was doing. But what happened over the couple of days that we were together at that symposium is that we were really able to connect. We weren't talking about work so much. It was just talking, one woman to another at a diversity symposium, a chance meeting, if you will, that led to her picking up the phone and calling me about a job that I knew nothing about, had not intended to apply for because I didn't know about it, and wasn't even sure, quite frankly, that it was a role that I wanted. But as I talked to her and thought about it, it really aligned to what I was looking for. And so over the next few years, I was promoted 3 times because I started employing this secret of connecting, of allowing people to know me, of talking about who I am, of genuinely listening when they talk to me so that I can know them more as well. And that is the power of connecting. See, Paul May said it this way, that if you build the right relationships with the right people, and then you nurture them over time, you'll always have a leg up over the competition. And that's the key. It's really nurturing those relationships. That is what makes us influential. It gives us the power to influence. The dictionary definition of influence, which is a noun, is really to have the capacity to have an effect. The capacity to have an effect on character, on development, on behavior of someone or something. Another definition that I love is that it's the power to shape policy and ensure favorable treatment. See, Katrina leveraged her influence and her power to ensure that I received favorable treatment in getting that job. I learned that secret and now I applied that lesson, and that got me promoted several more times. So that power to influence, to shape things that have an effect, comes from your status, your contacts, or shall we say connections, and your wealth. And I would submit to you that wealth is also a function of your connections and your ability to know people more. Now, to be influential is then to cultivate genuine connections, to invest the time to know people, not for what you can get, but just from a genuine desire to know and connect with another human being. The outgrowth of that really is the connection that creates that knowing that makes someone want to engage on your behalf. Connection gives you the power to influence, to affect change. If you want to affect change, you have to learn to connect with people and be real, genuine about it. The higher up you go in any organization or function, the more critical your ability to build relationships is. It becomes less and less about your technical abilities or your job skills, and more about your ability to build relationships with people. So you have to know people more if you want to earn that power to influence. I'm still using all of those lessons now. When I left corporate America in the middle of a global pandemic to start this coaching practice, my very first clients, and in fact, I would say 99% of the clients that I have today came to me as a result of one of my connections. Not that I even asked, but in just connecting naturally. For example, I called my old boss from Synchrony and just to talk, to say, hey, how are you doing? He left the organization around the same time. And he said, I'm great. He's like, well, what are you doing now? Have you found a job? Do you even want a job? What's going on? And I said, no, I haven't found a job because I don't want one of those. I am retired from corporate America. I said, but what I am doing is working on my passion, and I'm building my coaching practice. He said, oh my God, you're going to be great at that. He said, as soon as you're ready, let me know. He's like, I got a woman on my team right now that I think would benefit from your coaching. That's the power of influence. And I want you to have that power. So if you want to know more about how to build genuine connections and build relationships so that you can be more influential and give yourself that advantage, that leg up over the competition, whether it's in business, in a career, just in life in general, then let's connect. Reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Lisa L. Baker on LinkedIn. You can follow me on social media at Ascentim. That's on Facebook and Instagram. And you, of course, can go to my website, ascentim.com, to learn more about careers, connections, and finances, and how you can increase your power to influence and be more influential. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm going to pause now and take questions if you have any.
Wow, that was great, Lisa. I really enjoyed your presentation. It just pushed further an essential element of relationships and how we connect to people. In this day and time, that's quite essential. quite essential. And so from that standpoint, you know, we meet a lot of people all the time. We talk to them, but then, but you're not going to connect to everybody like that, but you can and should think to connect to people that, you know, you have genuine relationship and also a professional acclamation to growth and development professionally. So tell me, you know, from your corporate or your passionate corporate profile, how did you make the turn?
Oh gosh, you know, I have had this dream, if you will, for a long time of leaving the corporate world and really helping others. But I didn't really know how I would do that or what it would look like. But I had gotten to the point in corporate America, and I was, you know, at the pretty high up on the ladder. When I left Synchrony, I was one of only 7 Black females who were executives in the business. And I was, in fact, the highest ranked amongst the Black females in the business. And so people thought I was crazy because I was like, yeah, I don't think this is what I want to continue doing. I was good at my job and I enjoyed the work and I enjoyed the people, but there was some part of that was missing for me. And it really was the passion in terms of, I wasn't really excited about helping to grow another big business's business, but I was very excited about helping people to grow. And that really is my heart. You know, as a woman of faith, I do that in terms of helping people grow spiritually. As just a person in general, listen, it was tough and challenging. I just shared one of my war stories and a fraction of it from corporate America. But as a woman of color, looking like I do, in the corporate space, you can imagine that there were challenges along the way, but I figured out how to navigate around them and overcome. And I don't want it to be as hard for the next person who aspires to do that. And so that's really what pushed me to move. I was in a meeting with a group of leaders at Synchrony, and one of them was one of our board members. And I said to him, you know, I have no desire to be the see anything at Synchrony, but I am all in for helping someone else who aspires to that. I will coach, I will sponsor, I will mentor and help anybody else who aspires to go to those levels. But that's not how I want to spend my energy. So now I get to do the part of my job that I've always loved the most. I get to help people figure out what they're passionate about, help them align those passions with their strengths and their God-given purpose so that they can really love their lives. And so that's really what pushed me to do it. So in the midst of a pandemic, with all of the uncertainty, I left and started this venture, and it is going well. In fact, that's how I came into contact with Elizabeth. She saw the press release about Ascentim and what we're doing and reached out, and now we're starting to build our connection. And who knows what will come from that? And that's the beauty of it. That's the real power. And as I said, just listening to some of the people as they spoke on the call today, I was jotting notes because that's now my ear. I listen for connections when I'm talking to people, things that they like that I like, that their passions that align with mine. And that's the key. I call it finding your tribe. It's those people whose heart beats similarly to yours. They may not look like you. They may not come from the same background, but you can find a way to connect. And in fact, you need a diverse group of people that's part of your circle.
Very good, very.
That was really, I'm so impressed because we're launching our speaker bureau, and, you know, all of you have come into our lives, and, you know, it's like, I had this vision when we started Brightside that, you know, we wanted to be a talent house and really develop, you know, powerful people that could, you know, coach and, you know, mentor. And I wanted to focus on business because, you know, everybody has their calling. And I thought that our calling, when I met Elton for the first time, and I asked him, you know, what is his objective in life? And he said he wanted to build 100 Black millionaires. And at the time, you know, I was like, you know, what's that all about? But, today, 18 plus years later, we are like, finding that the first calling is actually happening. So, this is amazing. I really loved the presentation and I think it was very on point. So I look forward to working with you on more events together. And thank you for sponsoring as well. That really helped.
So, do you do
That's
corporate accounts as well as individual ones?
I do. Right now I have a business that actually is a landscaping company in North Carolina. So when Reginald mentioned landscaping being one of the categories of organizations, as I said, I'm working with them now on their business strategy. So really my thing is all about growth. That's why the tagline is Here You Grow. And that's all about gaining insight, realizing new possibilities, overcoming obstacles, and winning at life. And that's whether you're a business owner or individual. I do, as I said, in groups as well. And I talk about these topics because it's near and dear to my heart. Right. And what I find is that there are so many people, especially women, who, still bump up against the challenges. We are earning less than the typical man. We're earning about 62 cents for every dollar that they make. That's still an issue. I don't think that should be the case. Sure. So that's why I'm all about helping them to grow their career and their money and create wealth so that they can live on their own terms. And if they, like me, decide, hey, I want to leave my job, they can walk away and not be worried about how they're going to pay their bills. Yeah, that's really what I am about. And so as I listen to the speakers that preceded me and their topics, it's like, yeah, I see connection points at many connection points.
You have a question.
Yeah, I see her hand raised. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Hi, Lisa, and thank you so much. Your presentation was almost no words. It connected with me, and I mean that in a literal sense. What you are doing is really inspirational. And though we haven't had the opportunity to connect yet, I'm sure we will. I just wanted to attest to what you are saying is 100% accurate. Connections are everything. And I've learned over the years of preparing my book and reaching out to different sources in the media, I had to learn to listen more. Everything wasn't, I was going out about my book, everything wasn't about me. It had to be about others. And those connections, honestly, the TV news interviews I've done lately in other states, people I didn't even know. I'm actually going to be on the list with Christina Guerrero soon. That came from connections, genuine connections. People can tell when you are in it for yourself. So cultivating genuine friendships, especially with other women, is what has me at this point with Elizabeth and her husband as well, like you said. So I just wanted to say that I am so proud of you and what you're doing, following your dreams, quitting in a pandemic that had to be so scary, but you stepped out on faith. And I'm so proud of you, and everything you said resonated with me. So I just continue to wish you nothing but peace, joy, and success.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That touched my heart. I am an emotional creature, so you
Me
can
too.
see I feel hot tears welling up in my eyes. But it that happens though for me, as I said, when I come in contact with someone with whom I generally feel a connection. And so, yes, I will take down your information. I intend to reach out to you so that we can connect. Here. I have no idea where it would lead, and I don't have to. What I have learned is that it's the journey. It's the process of just getting to know another human being, making that heart-to-heart connection. And it may be years from now that we'll discover why we happen to be at the same place at the same time today.
I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you, sis.
Yeah, that was awesome. We have Lucille and Sue. Are these friends of yours, Lisa or Felicia? Can we see your videos? Can you all introduce yourselves? Can we get to know you?
Felicia is a very dear friend of mine. She is one of my connections. One of the things that I coach around is building your personal board of advisors. And I talk about the roles that you need to fill on your personal board. Felicia is on my personal board of advisors, and she is in the role a cheerleader. She encourages me, she pushes me. I'll send things to her to review. And in her wonderful way, she'll say, now, sis, this is really good. But did you think about that? Or she'll say, I love it. It's so good. You're so great. And we need that other people who will just cheer for us. And that is Miss Felicia Watson Martin. The fact that she showed up today, I know she's working. Again, that's the beauty of connections. People who show up for you and encourage you when you need them. That is everything.
Well, Brian, I didn't mean to wake you up, but he's calling from India, and Brian, and we're trying to open a global office in India, which he's going to spearhead at some point. So Brian, please introduce yourself. And Brian actually is here today to talk about next month, which is Earth Day. And we'll do a similar conference. Every month we do a conference with a different theme. And so next month is Earth Day. We celebrate birthdays, we celebrate anniversaries, but why not celebrate Earth? And this will also be our third Earth Day as well. And last year we had consulate generals, we had people from the environment, we had our naturalists, we had wildlife, and we're also connecting with Kenya. So we're going to be taking a safari as a group to Kenya for those who can go, and those who can't will do it virtually. So I'm putting that program together, and maybe Eliza can be the coach, and Letitia and all my authors. So Brian, can you tell us a little bit about your hiking and just something that we can expect from your presentation in April?
Well, good day, everyone.
What time is it there?
Yeah, it's about 12:20 in the morning AM. Yeah,
so you can go to sleep after this.
Yeah, but I thought I would go to sleep, but after hearing all these presentations, it's been so exciting and invigorating to hear each one. All of you are such motivational speakers that I just felt like listening more and more. So yeah, so thank you, Lisa and Tisha and everybody. You had it was very inspiring talk. I was wondering, during my corporate career, because even I gave up my corporate career a few years back. But when I look back, I said there were some ups and downs, and now I could understand where where I faced the downs was when my connections were poor. So I was wondering why I had this cycle, but it makes more sense when I listen to your presentation. It's the connections which made the difference. When there was a change of scenario or change, you moved to another department or you moved to another company, the connections made a great difference in your success and in finding the right solutions and getting the right support. So it really, I really could resonate with what you said a lot now. So it would be interesting to hear more from you in the future. So I'm basically from the field of international business, and we had a long career in the international trade line and developing international marketing strategies for companies, from India, for the Middle East, US market, and even the African market. So my passion was always to go on treks or hikes, as you would call it. And I never had the opportunity during my whole professional career because it was very stressful and I used to travel a lot. So I didn't have time even on the weekends. I was never at my home base on the weekends. I was always traveling. I think maybe 6 to 9 months a year. So I was always interested in starting my regular treks and hikes, and the mountains always beckoned. So it's in the last many years after I gave up full-time that I've been able to follow my passion. And now I would say the environment and ecology and all is something which really is very dear to me. And so the Earth Day is something we look for two every year, the Earth Day and Environment Day also in June. And we hope to put a good program, about how we could save our Earth. And, probably come up with some ideas. And also, I would also share my experiences which I had during my treks, in the Himalayan region, and my planned treks to different parts, to Kilimanjaro and the other areas. So this is a little what I had to say. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and wonderful being here with all of you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And yeah, he did a fantastic presentation of going to the Himalayas. So I'm also going to put you in charge of spearheading this trip to the Kilimanjaro that we're planning.
Okay.
And so maybe you can bring a delegation from India, and we'll bring one from the US, and we'll all meet in Kenya. So,
I want to add this back. I mean, I know we're moving away, but Lisa, I just want to thank you for your participation and support here. And I want to get an understanding, though, too. And this, as we bounce back from COVID now, and people are finding a new perspective and understanding. Also, it may be a time for new direction for how corporate America behaves and beehives and what we do. I mean, and how it could impact our community, the future for small business, and the future for our collective involvement to help support, listen, and coach and lead people into better categories about your professional career. Because at some point, people will retire and they'll take off to do something else and new. But of course, only after you have totally won, what you have been trying to do till now. So I mean, so I just let you have some last minute reviews for that, and then we'll move on to another sector. And also thank you for your participation and support.
Yeah,
with us
thank you very much.
And we'd also like to make sure that we stay connected with you that way. But please, share.
Yeah, absolutely. But I appreciate it. You're very welcome. I'm honored to be here today, and you're spot on. I mean, we're talking a lot now about the Great Resignation. I think one of the things that the pandemic did was give people time to think and think about their lives in a different way, given everything that was going on. And so many people realized just how dissatisfied they were with their careers. In fact, there's a study that says that, over 80% of Americans are dissatisfied with their jobs. Isn't that interesting? Given that we spend a third of our lives working, that's about 90,000 hours in the average lifetime you'll spend working. If you're going to spend that much time doing anything, shouldn't you love it? Don't you want it to be something you're passionate about, something that makes you want to get up out of bed? And so and that's a lot of what I coach around to, is helping people to really understand what it is they love, what they're good at, what they're created to do, and bringing that all together. Sometimes that may be in their career and just doing it slightly differently. Sometimes it's like me, it's like leaving corporate America and doing something else. But it's also about helping them to make that transition in a way that is fiscally responsible, so that they can, leave and shift on their own terms. And having the connections is a key part of that. I am a firm believer that everything we could ever desire to have will come through another person, because God works through people.
Sure. Yeah, I'll make this last comment and I'll sit back. But a couple of weeks ago, we had the good pleasure of having on our speaker profile Adelia Bendels, who was the great-great-granddaughter of Madam C.J. Walker. And she showed us pictures of Madam C.J. Walker with over, and it tells us she had 150 women in her sales team, 150 women. Now, she came from an era where She couldn't have known about that. Her experiences wouldn't have taught her that, but something came out from her that inspired her to grow a new platform and a new persona and a new direction. And that's what this, I think, has the power to do. If you can create new to be bigger and that implants in you better, man, I mean, think about who we all are at the end of such a work. Think about who we all can become at the end of that kind of process. And unless we engage with those kind of perceptions and models of development, I mean, we'll still be stuck in the same rut doing what they say, it's not ignorance, but
insanity.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But if you want a new result, a new benefit, then you have to do something different and new. Wow.
Absolutely. I was on that presentation. It was fantastic, by the way.
Very good. Very good. That was amazing.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're celebrating Women History Month. This is our Women Business Empowerment. We've had a lot of great speakers. It will reside on our page for women, and we'll make sure you have the links so you can continually watch.
Right.
We did 3 Women Business Empowerment. So last year, our theme was domestic violence, women who were victims of human trafficking. But this year, because of being in a pandemic and being in a war, our theme is the war. And we have with us author Dina Greenberg, that's written an amazing book, Nirmina's Chance. And she will be speaking at 4:30. And we'll be following with academics and people from Croatia. And so we'll be talking a lot about Ukraine. Now we have veterans here, so thank you for your service, Regina and Harold. I want you all to stay because you all have fought in these wars and give us a perspective. And now Dina will talk on the fiction because hers is a fiction novel, and she'll do a reading and bring to life a beautiful story that I hope one day will become a movie. And so she's here with us. And so we're doing great on time. So I'm going to stop recording this segment. You were watching Lisa L. Baker with Ascentim. And this was a fabulous presentation. And I think every one of us needs to connect. You can reach Lisa at her website, ascentim.com. And we'll make sure that you have links. So if you'd like to book her as your next coach or next speaker for your corporate event, or even as a small business owner, you can invite her to speak to some of your teams as well. We are launching the Brightside Talent and Speaker, I like to call it House versus Bureau, where we will be housing these wonderful speakers. So if you'd like to book them directly or book them through us, we would love that. So thank you for watching. And if you are buying, because we are all about business and we want you to buy these books, we want you to book services, we want you to do all these wonderful things, make sure you put in your comments that you bought it, you saw it, you endorse it, and then we will give you 2 tickets to the next show. And also you can be in our drawing because every month we give away a lot of prizes. And so you can be in the drawing and then we'll announce who the prize winners is.
So I say this, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
You're in the right place. Yes, thanks for that.
Yes.
Thanks for that.
So I want to just acknowledge everybody who's on the call. We have Alexandra, and she's actually a coach, and she's written a fantastic book about holistic, what is it? Holistic. We can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, she's coming back to speak, so stay on. And Brian, of course, is here to tell us about Earth Day, which is in April, that he's going to be the spearhead for Brightside. And we have Dina, who is a historian, and she's been with us all day. Thank you, Dina, for your time. Now, I love Shakespeare. Is there anybody in this group that reads Shakespeare? Any Shakespeare lovers? Okay. So what if we love the characters, right? Dina is the character writer. We love all the characters, Rosalind and everyone in Shakespeare, Lady Macbeth. Now, what if you discover that Shakespeare was actually a woman? How would you feel about it? So Dina is a historian, and she's going to take you through that journey to discover, because back in the day, if you were a woman, you couldn't do a job. You couldn't be a painter. You couldn't be a writer. You had to take a man's name and a man's, image and hide behind it. Otherwise, society wouldn't accept you. So we've come a long way from that. And so Dina will take you through. We'll be fascinated with what she has to say. And then I have anybody else? Tisha, of course, is going to teach us about women respecting women. So great presentations coming up. But my next speaker is Dr. Joanne. And so I'll just stop recording. You're watching Women Business Empowerment, Women History Month. Stay tuned for more.